Welcome to the Week 13 Fantasy Flex podcast presented by Prize Picks. I am your host, Chris Raybon, with my dude, as always, Sean Koerner. Sean, hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. What's going on?
Likewise. Yeah, and I'm still eating leftovers, so it's still technically Thanksgiving for me. I got about one more day of leftovers, but yeah, how was New York? How was Thanksgiving for you?
I mean, it was good. I think I'd still rather have been in Cali though. I mean, the
Yeah, I
weather
would have
out there
loved
was,
for you to try my in-laws stuffing where they use
ooh,
Italian sausage instead of turkey. I don't like turkey, by the way.
hot
So
take.
yeah, I know, right. Does anybody really like turkey? So for Thanksgiving I usually eat ham and their stuffing. They don't use turkey, they use Italian sausage. Bomb. So too bad you weren't able to come over and try it up. Maybe next time.
Yeah, I can't believe you don't like turkey. I mean, it's not actually that hot of a take because it's like my least favorite meat of the Thanksgiving
Yeah,
meats, but I still like turkey because usually without turkey you don't get stuffing. Like people don't usually make turkey stuffing without turkey, so that's
right.
kind of why I put up with it. All right, let's get into we have to get into waivers for this week. A lot of crazy things going down around the NFL in terms of injuries and whatnot. So we'll get to waivers, but let's start as always with our Monday Night Football showdown slate breakdown. We have the Seattle Seahawks. Still can't manage to win a game going up against the Washington football team. Sean, I mean, people must be just so tired of the Seahawks at this point. What are you thinking here in terms of the captain spot? Like, are you just fading all Seahawks and going straight to Washington, or do you think they will bounce back tonight?
No, I think Seattle will bounce back here. I hope they do because I have them +1. I'm trying to avoid
Same.
going 0 for 5 this week on my spreads and totals. Thank God I had a winning week with player props, but I'm getting my ass kicked right now on sides and totals. So rooting for Seattle tonight. And I think, yeah, for the captain slot, I think this is the kind of slate where you definitely want one of these receivers. So Terry McLaurin or DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. You can't go wrong with either one of those guys. I think they have the highest ceiling for a slate like this. So I'll probably be mixing and matching those guys. Or you could play, Russell Wilson and then stack both Metcalf and Lockett. But I'm willing to, attack the Seahawks here because I think Rust Wilson probably needed a couple games to get back in action. So, I think the third game's the charm, and I think he will break out tonight. So that's why I'm investing in the Seahawks, and we'll be playing plenty of, Metcalf and Lockett tonight as well.
Yeah, and a lot of this, I know the narrative is that Russell Wilson came back too soon off the injury, but a lot of the problems with the Seahawks offense were kind of showing up even before he went down. I mean, they were really struggling on third down. And so they didn't run many plays per game. And it was all kind of reliant on big plays, and that's just continued. So the good thing is Washington is dead last in third down conversion rate on defense. So this would be the game. And I think Tyler Lockett is a guy that should bounce back here. I mean, if you just look at what Seattle's been not doing on third down, you have Metcalf leading the team with 17 third down targets. Freddie Swain is number 2 at 14. And then Lockett and Gerald Everett combined have less than Freddie Swain. So I would think they try to get those guys more involved, especially on third down. So, yeah, I think Lockett is for me. And, yeah, on the other side, Terry McLaurin's always in play here. He's just so good. All right. What about for our DFS cheat codes, guys? A little further down the board that you're looking at.
Yeah, so I mean, Washington is really tricky tonight with Curtis Samuel back in action, Logan Thomas as well. So the receiving core is kind of murky behind McLaurin. I think we can trust Logan Thomas. I think he's pretty much at full health, and I could see him running around over 80% of the time. So I think he's in play. But I think the way I'm kind of being sneaky with this slate is how I'm dealing with running backs. I think we have a handful of options tonight. And I think, I'm going to create stacks for the running back. So for a positive Seattle game script, so a game script where Seattle wins, I like stacking Alex Collins with JD McKissic. Collins is going to get way more work if Seattle, wins this game. And then on the other side, JD McKissic will see an increase in usage as he's the main, pass catching back. And then, I'll make some lineups where I'm expecting Washington to win, and that's, I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson and stack him with DJ Dallas. Seattle's down to just DJ Dallas, Alex Collins, and someone named Josh Johnson. I don't even know who that is. But, DJ Dallas will probably run a route over 50% of the time here. So I think he's the pass catching back. And, he would correlate nicely with a Washington win. So I think how you stack these running backs is the cheat code for me on this slate.
Yeah, DJ Dallas is a guy who, they just don't like to play Alex Collins on passing down. Mm-hmm. So Dallas would get a lot of work if Seattle struggles yet again. And maybe they need to get the back more involved, because that's another aspect that's really kind of been missing. Yeah. Maybe they should have just kept J.D. McKissic a couple of years ago.
Oh, true. Yeah, revenge game. Forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it looks like Curtis Samuel is coming back. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, but he's probably going to be limited.
Yeah.
I have his routes run around like 40%. I don't think he's going to make a difference, but it's just enough to cut into Adam Humphries and DeAndre Carter. So it's kind of a mess. They're going to be a touchdown or bust, but yeah, I have him playing, but being pretty limited.
Yeah. And then, there's guys like D. Eskridge you expect to get more involved at some point for Seattle, especially with Swain not really giving them much of anything. So I'd kind of look out for him in these kind of slates down the stretch. And now joining us for our waiver portion of the show, Samantha Previte from the Action Network. Samantha, hope you had a good holiday. How's it going?
I had a lovely holiday. Thank you so much. Ate way too much and enjoyed the football. I even enjoyed Bears Lions.
Oh man, that's a testament to your football loving acumen.
Well, because I took the Lions.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, well, I had the under, so I guess I feel you. It's like you have to have something. You have to have some kind of action on that game, and it's hard. It was hard to start anyone in fantasy in that game. So, yeah.
I started Darnell Mooney in a few places.
There you go. There you go. The one guy, the Bears, because like where's Cole Kmet these days? But all right, let's get into quarterbacks. And Samantha, I'll start with you. Cam Newton's on bye. Aaron Rodgers is on bye. We have to have a couple other teams, the Titans, the Browns, which I don't think anyone's starting Tannehill anymore, and they were never starting Mayfield. But when you look at these kind of streamer landscape for this week, who's your kind of top priority ad here?
It's pretty lean week. Mac Jones obviously stands out at 38% rostered coming off of his best game of the year. He was near perfect against the Titans. It's a little tough because I just feel like they do lean a lot on the run game, and even in games where they do blow out teams, he doesn't put up a ton of fantasy points. And they are playing Buffalo this week, but Buffalo's defense has looked a little bit more exploitable recently, especially with Tre'Davious White out. Taysom Hill could possibly be an interesting ad at 5%. We saw that he is getting first team reps over Trevor Siemian. So maybe that Trevor Siemian experiment is over in New Orleans. So we'll see there. I think, obviously the rushing gives him a high floor. And then Justin Fields at 21% rostered, it looks like he could play in week 13. So if you are really looking for someone out there on the waiver wire, he's just 21% rostered and maybe worth an ad.
Yeah, Sean, I think the name that really caught my attention that Samantha mentioned was Taysom Hill. If he does get the nod here, it's a short week for most of the NFL, but not for the Saints because they also played on Thursday. Is he kind of your number one quarterback streamer for this week?
Oh, yeah, for sure. If Taysom Hill is starting, absolutely like low and QB1 upside just because his rushing ability. So, yeah, if he's announced as a starter, definitely use him, especially against the Cowboys. Great matchup for him. And, you mentioned Cam Newton's on bye this week, and I just want to ask you, does it even matter? Can we trust him?
Hey,
after last week, what the hell is that?
Did a QBR of 5 yesterday.
I could do a little victory lap on that one because we wrote up our little sell highs in fantasy, and my quarterback was Cam Newton. I said, hey, like when the hype was on Cam Newton, it was like he has like Miami who's playing better than a bye. Like it might never be better to sell Cam Newton than after like even before he had the good game against Washington. You know what I mean? Because like the rest of the way, I think he has with one other good matchup that you might want to start him. And so, ouch. Yeah, that was disappointing though, because I had the under and he went 5 of 21 and the under still didn't hit. So it's one of those. But yeah, it probably I would say the
I think
answer is
PJ
probably
Walker
not.
starts after the bye.
Yeah, we'll see. It's probably a toss-up at this point.
Don't they have somebody else there that they can like?
Darnold.
I'm tired of all of these people. Yeah, like where's Will
Yeah.
Greer? Can we get him
Oh,
back
they have
from
Matt,
the Cowboys?
they have Matt Barkley.
Oh,
Matt
yeah.
Barkley. Give him a start.
How are you not?
Yes,
How? Oh,
Yeah, he needs a shot. So let
Yeah.
Barkley start.
Yeah.
But either way, this is a rough week for streamers, as Samantha mentioned. All of the top 12 in my initial rankings are rostered in over 85% of leagues. So the next best bet is Tyler Heinicke, which I'm considering tonight sort of his audition to be my streamer next week. He has some upside, especially if Curtis Samuel looks like he's closer to 100%. He gets back Logan Thomas. He has that rushing upside we like. So I think Tyler Heinicke will be my streamer next week if he looks good tonight. Farther down, Justin Fields he scares me this week just because, coming back from that rib injury, I don't know if we're going to see him rush, 7-8 times this week. They might try to protect him. So I might be cautious with him, especially a tougher matchup against the Cardinals. And then Tua, Tua's kind of like a high floor play, but he has a low ceiling right now. The Dolphins are, rolling. They're on a 4-game win streak. They're leaning on their defense and run game. So I like Tua, but he's a guy that I don't think has a high ceiling. So right now it's Heinicke for me.
Yeah, I think you always got to kind of lean toward those guys with the rushing ability. I was impressed with Tua because I have a lot of respect for that Panther defense, and for him to go, what was it, 26 of 29? I think he's a guy that, for people that maybe have like a everything wrapped up, like maybe an ad, because if he's gonna play like that against the Panthers, I mean, he might just be having one of those crazy finishes to the year. The Dolphins keep winning, so he's an intriguing guy. What about any thoughts on Daniel Jones? I know that they didn't do much on offense with a couple of his guys hurt, but let's say Shepard and Tony come back. You have no Jason Garrett anymore. Any interest in Daniel Jones against that Dolphins defense, or it's like that them shutting down Cam Newton kind of spooked you guys?
No, I like Daniel Jones. If let's just put it this way, if Shepard and Tony return, he'll be a high-end QB 2 for me.
Yeah, not too much interest unless he has a better slate of a better complement of weapons out there. Miami's defense maybe scares me a little bit, but it's not like Cam Newton is some kind of gifted passer at this advanced stage in his career. So obviously take all of that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean, just like the week over week though, like from go like 21 to 27 against Washington to 5 of 21. Wow. Okay. Let's move on to running back because there is a lot going on here at the running back position. Christian McCaffrey on bye and looks like he's hurt as well. Then, Nick Chubb, he's on bye. You got the Packers backs, Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon on bye. And, just if you got something out of Deontay Foreman or Dontrell Hilliard, those guys are on bye too. So Sean, I mean, just a lot of guys out here that people need to replace that they might have been using these last few weeks. Who are you looking at here at the running back position? I know we have a couple of options.
Yeah, this is a great week for running backs. And, it starts with Alexander Mattison. He is the top ad this week. He's my running back 6 this week against the Lions. So if you need a win this week, absolutely, use your number 1 waiver, bid all your fab to get Mattison. Should be a top 10 running back as long as Dalvin is out. And it seems like Dalvin will miss, a couple games. So Madison's the top ad for me. And then Jamaal Williams is another good ad. He's more of a cheaper version of Mattison for the next game or two. I think Swift will probably miss, 1 or 2 games with the shoulder injury. So I love Jamaal Williams. He'll be a, low end RB2 as long as Swift is out. And then Dontrell Hilliard, I kind of have mixed feelings about him because I loved him heading into last week, but it was kind of fluky. You mentioned it, Raybon, that, both Hilliard and Foreman rushed for over 100 yards. But Hilliard only got 1 catch for 2 yards. So I'd be a little bit nervous once Jeremy McNichols returns that he could eat into Hilliard's role. So, I'm a bit cautious when it comes to bidding on Hilliard this week, but he's probably the best long-term option out of these top 3. And then, CMC's out, for the rest of the season. So I think Chuba Hubbard and even Ameer Abdullah are must adds right now. And I'm worried that Abdullah will probably eat in to Hubbard's receiving role a bit. So this could be closer to 50-50 timeshare than I think people realize. But I think both of those need to be rostered now that CMC is done for the season.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think there's going to be this kind of split of managers who need a guy right now for this week. And then you might be able to get some of those guys that are on bye because you have Hilliard, you have Foreman, you have Chuba Hubbard, you have Ameer Abdullah, like 4 different running backs that could conceivably get enough of a workload to start. And you might get a discount because everyone's kind of scrambling over Mattison if he's not rostered and a guy like Jamaal Williams. So yeah, Samantha, how are you navigating this crazy running back week here?
Yeah, to your point, there are definitely some guys that you should be targeting if you are looking forward to the fantasy playoffs already, looking to sort of fortify your roster. So that would be Chuba Hubbard. And I don't even know really what to make of this Frankenstein backfield in Tennessee. Like, I feel like there's obviously going to be a lot of rushing because they have no receivers left, but I don't know how to really, what to really make of it, especially when McNichols comes back. Now, he's obviously someone that's more involved in the passing game. So, I guess like I would put a little bit more emphasis on Foreman just because he saw more carries than Hilliard, but those are guys that you could probably scoop up for a discount, like you said. And then, Jamaal Williams will be the top ad, I think, for this week outside of Mattison. Mattison is just slightly over the 50% mark. But yeah, you should definitely check if he is available. Jamar Jefferson in deeper leagues, maybe at 0% rostered on Yahoo. The Jets backfield, kind of messy, but maybe if you need a warm body, Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman at 40% and 18% rostered. Matt Brieda,
Yes.
what is going on in Buffalo? Obviously, Zach Moss is on an ice flow somewhere, but Matt Brieda at 23% scored for the 3rd time in 3 games, has apparently leapfrogged Moss in that backfield. So he's someone that I might keep my eye on. And then the Eagles, also another messy backfield. Boston Scott saw 15 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown over Miles Sanders. So that was interesting, I guess. So those are all guys that I guess you can definitely look at, but there seem to be like a top few guys and then like a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, we should spend some time talking about, because there's a few guys that we didn't even get to that I'm glad you brought up, Samantha. Matt Brieda, I love, one of the things I love to do to kind of get some intel is really dive into the team, beat reports. And that was something you could see coming a few weeks ago when Buffalo, I think it was after they had that weird loss to Jacksonville and no one knew what was going on with their offense. They kind of identified that they needed to get the run game going and that Brieda was going to be active and kind of get that opportunity. So I don't think this is like a 1-off or 2-off, or now it's like a 3-off because I guess he scored in 3 straight. But yeah, I think you're going to see Brieda lead the backfield for the rest of the season. Now it's still Buffalo. So that's just kind of like, okay, Devin Singletary or Zach Moss to begin with, except I would think it's going to be more like the Singletary role because Moss was the guy, the power back that if they were, expected to have a positive game script, you could trust him. So yeah, I mean, Sean, any thoughts on Brieda here? Because it does look like he's probably going to lead the way for Buffalo.
Yeah, this is tricky because this Bills backfield is always a headache. So I'm kind of like letting other people deal with this. Who knows? Like Zach Moss could get back into the coaching staff good graces or something and start again. So Breida is the short-term ad, but either way, this is really murky. I usually don't like investing in this backfield. If anything, Singletary might be a guy that might provide, low-end RB2 value. But either way, if you're dumpster diving and you have like no fab to bid on like Alexander Mattison or Jamaal Williams, sure, go for Matt Breida. Even Boston Scott, he has upside this week if Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard are ruled out, he'd be an RB2. So, if you don't have much fab or anything like that, yeah, Breida and Scott would be the top 2 ads in my opinion.
And then I wanted to go back to the Foreman Hilliard thing, because I was watching that game and I'm looking at the play-by-play now. It's kind of confirming what I thought, but Foreman got like 8 carries of the last 9 running back carries. And then Kari Blossom game, the fullback, got 3 to end the game. Most of those came with the game out of hand, almost like they were trying to give everyone but Hilliard carries. So I wonder if after that big run, in the first half, if they've kind of settled on him as more of their lead back, and the reason Foreman ended with more carries, because like once the game got out of hand, they didn't even throw it anymore. They were just handing it off. And so like I actually think that Hilliard may be the guy going forward. And remember, McNichols never really got a lot of carries. Like I remember betting on his like rushing under 11 yards on Convince Me, because this guy would just never get carries. So I think Hilliard is going to be the guy there. I think Brieda is going to be the guy in Buffalo. And Houston is another one we didn't talk about. It's like, is it time to add Rex Burkhead? Is it, he got another 15 touches. David Johnson, I mean, he's probably floating out there. Samantha, any thoughts on that Houston backfield?
Kind of like what Sean said about Matt Brieda. I might let that be someone else's problem, but to your point, if there are people out there with not a ton of fab left and can't compete for Jamaal Williams, I wouldn't hate it, but I also just don't really trust that offense. And it's been a messy backfield for the whole season, so not a ton of interest there.
Like 2.7 yards per carry for.
Oh wow, that is a sexy stat line.
All right, yes, but there are some options. Is my point. So hopefully you're able to pick up someone here. A wide receiver, DJ Moore is on bye. Jarvis Landry, Devontae Adams, of course. AJ Brown got hurt, obviously, and before he went on bye. But some big names to replace. Sean, who are you looking at if you need a receiver to add this week?
Well, I hinted at this last week, but I said Josh Reynolds has a path to become the Lions' #1 wide receiver. Back in week 11, he ran 90% routes run, but that was Tim Boyle at quarterback. So he came in with 0 catches in that game, but he looked a lot better with Jared Goff under center. And we have to remember these two played for a few seasons with the Rams. So he already has chemistry with Goff. So I like Josh Reynolds. If you're dumpster diving at wide receiver, he could be, like a low end wide receiver 4 going forward. So if you need help, he's worth an add. And then DeSean Jackson, like he's the ultimate, high upside guy. If you're a huge underdog in a matchup, I love throwing out a guy like DeSean Jackson or Marquez Valdez-Scantling just to go for that ceiling. He has a really low floor, but you can't deny that DeSean Jackson has a 7-yard touchdown waiting to happen every week. So I like adding Jackson just as kind of like a high upside weapon.
Samantha, what about you? Which receivers are you looking at if you need to replace some of those big names here?
Yeah, I just saw that Rondale Moore is only 22% rostered. So he's a guy that maybe people dropped over the bye, but he previously had, before the bye, had 11 targets, 11 catches for 51 yards. So that is certainly encouraging. Don't know what DeAndre Hopkins' status is coming out of the bye, but we'll see with the injury reports there. Kendrick Bourne at 23% rostered. He popped off on my bench, which was very nice of him. 2 touchdowns in week 12. He's had 2 20 plus point games in 3 weeks. Buffalo next week than the bye, but like I said, with Tre'Davious White, they are a little bit less fearsome there. Russell Gage at 17% rostered could be interesting, especially with there's not being a lot of signs of Calvin Ridley coming back anytime soon. Van Jefferson, just sneaks under that 50% threshold. He's 49% rostered right now, 9 targets, 3 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown, and he gets Jacksonville next week. So those are definitely names that I'm interested in. DeSean Jackson also, I mean, if you want to roll the dice, for sure.
Yeah, I think Van Jefferson's really the guy that stands out for me, because we've seen this in LA. It's going to be that 1-1 personnel, especially because their backup tight ends are hurt. So you're going to see Jefferson and Kupp and Beckham get pretty much all the snaps. And we saw it against Green Bay. I think they all had like 9-10 targets or something like that. So or in like 90 yards. So it's gonna be a kind of the Van Jefferson show, I think, to close out the year, along with those other 2 guys and Higbee. So love Jefferson if he's still available in your league, which there's a 1 in 2 chance he is. Make sure you pick him up. And then tight end. For tight end, Dan Arnold's finally done, so we can't even mention him anymore. Just went out
Rest
pretty
in peace.
ugly.
Pouring out for Dan Arnold.
Right. Yeah. It was an ugly way to go out. I think 2 straight games with not really anything to show for it. But Samantha, if you need to add a tight end for this week, who are you looking at?
It is really lean at tight end this week. You're better off trying to get one of the running backs or wide receivers, I think, in terms of fab. But if you really need someone, Cole Kmet at 24% rostered. He had caught 8 of 11 targets for 65 yards last week. So, and they could get Justin Fields back. I'm not sure how much of an upgrade that is for him, but he is someone that I definitely kept my eye on throughout this season. Tyler Conklin, very unimpressive the last 2 weeks, but he does get Detroit this week. So he's 33% rostered, could be a streaming option. And then I don't know how much you trust Jack Doyle, but he obviously popped off this last week and his targets have been increasing. He has at least 5 targets in each of the last 3 games, caught 6 of 7 this week for 81 yards. So he is widely available at 1% rostered.
Sean, what are you looking at tight end?
Yeah, I like Cole Kmet. If you're like a big favorite this week and you need, a bye week replacement or something, Cole Kmet has a really high floor. But unfortunately, he doesn't really have that high of a ceiling because he's yet to score a touchdown this year. They typically, defer to Jimmy Graham when they get to the red zone, which is kind of annoying. But, he's a good bet for, 4 or 5 catches potentially. So I like Kmet. Foster Moreau is an interesting ad just to see what happens with Darren Waller. I'm assuming Waller will be able to play. But if not, Moreau has, low end tight end 1 upside. So stash him if you're kind of desperate and you need, higher upside than a guy like Cole Kmet. And then James O'Shaughnessy, I mean, he's replacing our boy Dan Arnold. So, he's worth rolling the dice on. The Jaguars are pretty thin at pass catchers right now. So O'Shaughnessy, I mean, he opened the season as a starter. So he should reclaim that role. And, he could be a good bet for 3 or 4 catches. Those people like me that were leaning on Dan Arnold the past couple of games need somebody. O'Shaughnessy's a good backup plan. And then, Jack Doyle, he was Carson Wentz's go-to weapon yesterday. So, Jack Doyle's sneaky, but just when it comes to these Colts tight ends, they rotate them so much, it's hard to trust them. But for now, I think Jack Doyle offers, tight end 2 kind of upside.
No love for Juwan Johnson?
Oh my God, no, sorry, I'm off the Juwan Johnson train. I had that bet for 20 to 1 that he would score the first touchdown for the Saints. He was on the field running routes. Just I don't even think he saw a target. So no, I'm out. I gave Juwan Johnson a 1 game chance and he failed. So I'm off.
He'll score 2 touchdowns.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
To your point about the banged up Jacksonville pass catchers, I'm curious if you guys have any interest in Ducks, Laviska Shenault or Laquan Treadwell.
Shenault, yeah. I mean, Shenault is. I saw him. He's a little bit under that 50% threshold, which I mean, it's crazy how far he's fallen. But yeah, I think he's the guy. They even talked about getting him more involved in the run game, which they didn't. But we've seen them kind of use those gadget guys before, like Agnew. So I think Shenault for me, Laquan Treadwell is just like a stone-footed. I don't want any part of that. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I love Shenault and Van Jefferson. I guess when I was recommending Josh Reynolds earlier, I'm assuming guys like Van Jefferson and Laviska Shenault are already taken in your league. So if they're available, by all means, add them. But I do like Chenault's upside now that, Jamal Agnew's out of the equation. They're going to have to use him more. I don't think he scored a touchdown yet this season. So he's more of a high floor guy where you can bank on potentially 5 to 6 catches a game going forward if they use him correctly. I've always said he kind of reminds me of, Alvin Kamara if he decided to bulk up and play receiver. He's that talented and, Urban Meyer hasn't really tapped into that yet, but he could eventually. So I like kind of stashing Shenault in deeper leagues.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson only has 9 passing touchdowns, so not a lot of touchdowns to go around.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Jags game. Trevor Lawrence has not looked great. Just gonna put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, the top of that quarterback. I mean, outside of Mac Jones, I mean, Zach Wilson not looking good either. So,
yeah.
All right, that is going to wrap it up for our waiver segment here on the Fantasy Flex Week 13 podcast presented by Prize Picks. Samantha, thank you for joining us, and let the people know where they can find you.
Thank you so much for having me again. I hope you guys all had a lovely Thanksgiving. You can find me on Twitter at Samantha NFL, and then all of my written work on theactionnetwork.com. And then also I am on this podcast every Tuesday and Thursday. I keep forgetting. Tuesday and Thursday.
Monday.
Monday, then Tuesday and Thursday with different interviews. This week I interviewed Nick Costos, who is hilarious. So that was a really fun one. So I hope you guys can tune in.
All right. And you guys can find Sean on Twitter at @the_oddsmaker. You can find me at Chris Raybon. You can find us at those same handles in the free award-winning Action Network app. You can find our fantasy content rankings and projections at actionnetwork.com and our DFS content tools models at fantasylabs.com. Until next time, let's get this money.